Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fireside Chat inside and outside view on the CE startup ecosystem. I'm really glad and happy that I have a really great, co-panelist with me, Cristobal Alonso from Startup Wise Guys. Cristobal, hi, and welcome to the chat.
Good morning, Urban. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. So it's been an exciting period behind us, right? So in the not only in the CE ecosystem, but in the startup world as such, right? So a lot of things is going on, and you are one of the most active investors in the CE region. Startup Wise Guys are doing excellent job, and you have of course an excellent overview of the region, but also on the European ecosystem as a broader. So it's really great that we'll open this CE Innovation Summit that we put together with World Summit and Podium DX event, and to kick off with really high level overview on the our beloved CE region. So you have 235 companies are currently in your portfolio. Approximately how many are from outside of CE region?
I'm back.
All right. So to repeat the questions, you have more than 230 companies in your portfolio. Approximately how many of them are out from outside the CE region?
Well, we always had a debate if Baltics are part of the CE region or not, right? Depending on the year. So if we count Baltics as part of the CE, which we think by culture, by affinity, by trends it is, I will say that about 70% of our investments are including CE and Ukraine, which to me also behaves in many ways, even if outside the statistics, in many ways very similarly, right? So I would say we are predominantly Baltics, Ukraine, CE region until the moment. And if I look at the forecast for the coming 5 years in our funds, I think we still see 50% of our investments will be in the region, right? We see no reason. We see the talent. This is the best time ever to be in the region, and I think we bet on that already 10 years ago, right?
You mentioned that there's like a common denominator, the culture fit. Ignoring the, let's say, the statistical region. You mentioned that there is some sort of similarity in these regions. Can you point out what is the this cultural entrepreneurial nature of CE region as you perceive it?
Yeah, I think it's very related to the talent, to the people, right? I think we're coming from very similar educational backgrounds. I would say it's very technical savvy people with very little sales expertise, and in general, because of the transformation of economies, with less role models in their parents, in their families about how to be a manager, how to be an executive, right? So I think that's very common across all these countries. How this translates is that we see great products being built and great skills that can be added in terms of sales, marketing. I always say we can teach a developer to sell. I cannot teach salesmen to develop. It's much more difficult. And then I see maybe three more elements: patience, and it's probably united with proudness. So people don't want to fail, and it's not the failure of Western Europe of bankruptcy, and people will look at that as me. It's like this pride. I'm going to prove that I can build it, right? So I think the resilience and the patience for results in the region is much larger than in many other spaces, especially in Western Europe and Nordics, which means that companies might maybe take 3-4 years to find product market fit, but they wait and they keep working until they find it, which makes that investments like ours might take 5-7 years to see the fruits of it, but I think we see them, right? So I think this is very, very, very common. And what I have seen lately, and I think that's a great improvement, is a way more eagerness to collaborate across countries, across founders. I think that's a learning to get more into a startup ecosystem that maybe was not there because there was a bit of lack of trust. And I think that is growing the ecosystems together with the giving back of many, many more founders that really want to give back in their countries and really make a difference. And I think that's also in a way very common in the region. And I hope that we keep doing it and it becomes a differentiator.
That's really great insight. So especially those, patience, resilience, and try to not prove that you are right. It's really great, and I think it's a great differentiator in a way. But I also a little bit touch point on the our sales oriented skills, or these managing skills. Do you see these skills are in any way improving over the last years? Or I mean, you're around for many years in the ecosystem, and we are known for this technical talent, as you mentioned. What about this? Is this sales talent or sales skills, are they kind of raising, or are they staying at the same level?
No, no, no. They're definitely racing. I think the problem was that there was not an initial pool of talent that knew how to do it, right? That will basically maybe leapfrog us. But I think as we see more second-time founders, third-time founders, their learnings are much more there. We have also seen many international talent that has worked with local teams, and those teams are there. They understand also when to do that themselves, when to use agencies, when to use contractors, when to. So I think they definitely have. If you compare 2010, 15, and 20, we're talking about prehistory, renaissance, and we're already getting to the first internet boom. Let's say the jumps are gigantic, right? However, we still don't have this pool of it's not the UK, which somehow that always strikes me. The second one is how do they sell better? How do we position ourselves better internationally to take away some of the basically the predisposition that we find in some countries? Oh, oof, for Eastern Europe, oof. And I think it's happening. It's happening. The positioning of the region is dramatically improving, and I think it's actually the region to watch. The McKinsey report, the recent one from Atomic Oak for startups, they're all saying this is the region to watch. VCs cannot afford anymore not to have a dedicated resource to look at the region. In the past, they would just send one of the analysts for a conference once a year. Now they have dedicated people, analysts, principals, looking at the region and even allocating a percentage of their fund investments to the region specifically, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic news. And I think that the whole ecosystem is in a way, rising and being spotted and put at the spotlight on that it deserves really well. So you're also known as a flying CEO, right? With a great overview in the region. What would be like, the single words that you would describe the ecosystem? So any perspective of it. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's use 4 words and then let's define them. Hunger. I still see this hunger for success, for growth, for becoming role models. The role models in the region are not the bankers, are the startups, the entrepreneurs. So that's one for sure. Second one, ambition, capacity to think bigger. I think that was lacking, is growing and growing, and now the startups are thinking about being bigger. Third one, there's still a deep inner need of purpose. So I see most startups, they're doing it for a reason. In the past, this was maybe money, that was wrong, right? So I think more and more and more, there is a real reason to do these things, right? And I think collaboration is the word that I want to see, that I start seeing, but still not there. And that I think is very different in the maturity. So if I compare Estonia, Poland, and let's say, I don't know, North Macedonia, right? Well, like is there, but it's in different stages because Estonia started 5 years earlier than anybody else, and North Macedonia started seeing the first wave only happening 2 years ago, right? So I think we will help, and I think that's one thing that maybe collaboration is great. I see the ecosystems like Estonia, even like Lithuania, even like Bulgaria, trying to help others. to kind of raise Czech Republic, which is probably more advanced, trying to help others, right? So there is this capacity. Let's help every country in the region because that makes us stronger because we're still seen as CE. So the allocation in BCs, the allocation in Tallinn, they said, how much have we done in the CE? They don't say how much we have done in Estonia, how much we have done in Poland. So raising the bar for any other country around us is helping. So collaboration is the key word, I think. Going forward, that has to go back with giving back. The thing is there.
Could these four words or synonyms could also be like the pillars for the marketing of this and promotion of the CE region? You mentioned before that maybe we are still not as good in marketing or promoting the region as such and all the positive things and aspects that and opportunities that the region has.
I will say yes, but then I will still not go away from the product quality because I think in the past we were trying to market this as cheap access to talent. Talent is not cheap anymore. If we see, Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland, even Ukraine, it's a war for talent. And the best paid people in the country is not the president, is the senior developer of particular areas, right? So there is not any more cheap talent, but we need to keep striving to be great deep tech product development teams. And I think we are. So I think that should be still the quality differentiator. And then we have the soft skills differentiator of hunger, determination, collaboration, which makes the market huge. Because when we look at other countries, maybe only Romania and Poland are actually big enough, right? But if you look at the region, and Ukraine if included, if you look at the region as a whole, this is probably the single biggest pool of product developers quality in the world. If we add on top of that a soft layer that is strong, and we have now the venture capital and investment layer that is very strong and was not there 5 years ago. I think we are creating a very strong differentiation how to market ourselves. And this is very important. We need to market ourselves. We have been very good at telling, oh, this is not a great country. We love to complain in the region, right? I think we need to learn about there is so many good things about the region, that we need to market those because I think we need to market the brand to external investors, to external customers, and at the end of the day, I hope 5 years from now, we said this comes from Eastern Europe. It's like, oh, that's good, that's excellent product quality. Then we have zero doubts about the product quality. Let's check other things, right? And that should be, I would say, allow me a very bad comparison. We should be the German products of startups. So when there was a car from Germany, it's well built. Might be expensive, but it's well built. So when a product comes from Eastern Europe, it's well built. We know it's solid. We know it's good. And I think that has to be a differentiator for us for sure.
And maybe like also to tap a little bit on this excellent technical talent that we have here. Now with remote work becoming like a new normal, right, for people working, this talent could also now, work for basically anyone on the world, right? So how to basically, keep this talent, working and developing the companies in our region, not, across the ocean in the West Coast.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we need to turn it around, which is if we have great teams, can we use remote talent from other places to scale our teams? So I think the biggest issue we face in all the startups past Series A right now is that when they need to hire 10, 20 people, it's almost impossible. You need to almost steal it from your body, actually, from the other Series A company, right? And the last 2 years, they start thinking, no, wait. I can actually tap from even from villages or smaller areas in the country that I can also go global, right? And I just need to find the people twice a year to be part of the team. So we'll say we need to turn it around about is yes, our talent can fly away, but we can hire way more talent under our layer of management that is extremely good, right? To enhance the size of the teams. The second part is developers love challenges, right? Give them a technical challenge that is big. There is nothing bigger than scaling your infrastructure, that is scaling your product. That is when you prove you have really built it properly, if the architecture is right, if the code is right, if the APIs are right. So to me, once we are throwing money, more money into the companies than ever before, I think we can make the challenge still attractive. So we say the key is keep making the challenge bigger for developers. They are not limited anymore by salaries. Salaries are market size, even compared with the US, or even above in some countries in Europe. You know, and thirdly is use the remote opportunity for two things. I have no problem if my developer wants to spend in Alicante in the beach 6 months and then come back in the summer where he enjoys the region. Do it. There is no limitations for that anymore. Give them that freedom, trust them with that freedom, and use the remote work to scale the teams with other regions that might actually need and have that time availability, right?
Great. You mentioned also Atomico C report that is, like also like a statistical structure. Could you, in really, pull out some really key insights that were maybe, one that was maybe surprising, or maybe that one that represents the region? And we have like really 5 minutes left, so we have to be.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wouldn't say nothing was surprising. We are inside, but I think it was putting the numbers on our qualitative story that we were being telling, right? The first one is, I think we went from 2 billion to 5 billion in terms of valuation of the assets, right? That means, we're almost at 253x year over year on how much the region is worth it, right? At that speed, we catch up with Nordics and Western Europe in less than 10 years, right? And those are countries that are coming from a different place, right? So clearly, the valuation of the companies is growing, and it's not growing anymore just with Series B, C, and D from the 70 or the 30 unicorns. It's actually growing the long tail. So I think one of the key things you can see in the report is the long tail is much bigger than before. There is the unicorns, the UiPath, the Bintex, the Wise, the Bolt, but there is a very, very long tail. And I think that's probably one of the news. The second one to me that was like, and I need to be proud about this one, is that Estonia is finally in per capita even bigger than Israel in terms of startup per capita, which I thought we were behind them and we're the only country that we haven't passed. But if I look at, Lithuania, I think it was number 5. I look at the Romanian one, right? So I start seeing that the startup sector, let's call it this way, could reach the importance of 20 to 25% of each of these economies, as it has happened already in Estonia. In Estonia, 18% of corporate taxes are coming from startups. The moment you do that, the government is thinking, how do I help you? No, so to me, it's the turning around about the government supporting, hey, this is the key sector of these countries. We need to help in any way possible, right? So I think that was probably the second and the third. Again, Romania was jumping up, it was good. I think there's a lot of UiPath, but I start seeing more things happening. I saw finally some green seats in Serbia, which is I have seen always saying that it has to come up much bigger. And to me, seeing the Baltics in the Lithuania and Estonia with Latvia, I think they basically were there as a region, not just Estonia, the biggest per capita in the world. I think to me that's very, very nice, and is still missing, maybe if you want a negative side or coming side, is B, C, and D series are still on the infancy in the region. So we have seen a huge growth in Series A valuation also, not just the money coming in, but we're still on infancy level of B, C, and D. It's only the unicorns that have gotten there, and that's the thing where we're going to see a lot of the money moving in the coming regions, which is great for us because that means they still need a bigger pipeline on the bottom, right? And we will always stay in pre-seed, seed, acceleration pre-seed, seed, and I think that's what we need to keep doing it.
Great. So for closing, for last 2 minutes, I have 3 short questions. What would you erase, add, or change in CEE region? Really short. You actually already mentioned what would you change. So the last the last 2 questions remain. So what would you erase in the ecosystem, and what would you add, like really shortly for the closing?
I will add a Series B, C, and D, and a much dynamic visas for other countries. So it's super easy to live in any of these countries if you come with talent. I will erase the conception that governments are the ones throwing the money. The money has to come privately. The governments are there to support what we do, not to tell us what to do or to create the change. We create the change. The governments. So erase that from our minds, and start making tenders that are doubling the money of private. Stop allowing fund managers to think that I'm going to raise the money from governments, EU, whatever is coming. Start saying that you raise private and we double it, more or less like like Finland. So that will be, I would say, the two things on top of the one I already added before.
Perfect. This was great. 20 minutes. Cristobal, thank you very much. I think we have like a really positive, future in front of us, and also, first saying that this future is bright because also of the key ecosystem stakeholders. Also, as you example, the Startup Wise is doing excellent job, and if each of us will do and best effort, I think the reports in next years are going to be even better. So thank you very much. Keep doing the great work. Looking forward to cooperating also in the future, and all the best to you and to your portfolio. Thank you very much. And moving on to Stoyan.